girl is still here. She has been taken by who I don't know.
I'll find her.
If she existed, we would know of her.
Whose desk is this,
Rowan? Hello?
You suspect foul play.
Wicker Man returns.
Who's the Wicker Man?
I'm gonna search every inch of this town.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
It's the bees! The bees!
This week, we'll be discussing the horror classic, the remake of The Wicker Man, starring the immortal Nicolas Cage. So there you have it.
God.
Good times.
What a bunch of bullcrap big talk you're giving me.
Now, did you see the bees scene? Because that's in the unrated cut. There's two different cuts of this movie.
I don't know. I saw whatever one I didn't have to pay money for.
Okay, here's how you know.
I saw it on the library. I saw it on Hoopla. Here's how you know.
There's the scene at the end of the movie where the big reveal is they hit his legs with hammers, right? And break his legs. If right after that they pull him up and slap like a cage on his head and then pour bees into the cage, that's the unrated edition and the only one worth discussing. Oh, goodness.
I don't know if the public library, they have Huck Finn and all that, but I don't know if they're going the bees. I was just pulling that out of my ASS.
Well, there's a lot of bee action in this movie.
There's a lot of bee action. That's what I was talking about.
A lot of beatitudes, if you will.
Beatitudes? Is that that's our Catholic faith.
That's
something. Now Republican, apparently.
Oh, sweet Lord. Let's go ahead and give me your 30-second synopsis of The Wicker Man.
All right. Stop! My Roomba came to life.
What is happening? It's a freak show.
I put a 3-hole punch on top of my Roomba because I've got too much stuff in my room, and then it just came to life. It's going to attack the bees.
The bees.
All right, so here's the dealio. Nick Cage, because we're good friends, so he lets me call him Nick.
Old Nick.
Nick Cage and I, no. So Nick Cage is like a cop in some small town.
Like Highway Patrol or something.
Yeah, I don't know. He seems a little Barney Fife. So he witnesses a terrible car accident, gets all freaky, gets a letter from a lost love claiming that she has a child that's missing. Come to my magical island and help me. So why not? So he just shows up. She's all flighty and strange. It's a weird old island. It's full of the ladies. Very few men. And everyone is denying the existence of this child. Bada bing, bada boom, neo-pagans. Human sacrifice, crop failure, the end.
Perfect. That just sums it right up.
Succinct.
Very succinct. Now, as we all know, and how many of you know, the original Wicker Man,
which is better,
came out in the early 70s with Christopher Lee.
I think.
Christopher Lee as Lord Summerisle.
Yes.
And the police officer, I think his name was like Sergeant Howie, was played by an actor whose name eludes me, but who went on to be the Equalizer in 80s TV fame. If you want to go back that.
He was hot.
I think it was like Edward Woodward or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Something like that.
If it's not his name, it should have been his name.
It should have been his name. But I'll tell you what, when I had never heard of the original Wicker Man, when the ads for this one came out like 15 years ago or whatever it was. Do you remember having any kind of impression when you heard Nicolas Cage was revisiting The Wicker Man?
First of all, I don't think I saw the original Wicker Man until after God, have I ever even seen this version before? I feel like I have. I feel like you've made me watch this before.
I think
now,
so.
when we had the original YouTube B Movie Club, did we watch both of them?
No. We may have watched the Nicolas Cage version. I only saw the Christopher Lee version 3 or 4 years ago for the first time.
So let me lay it out to you.
Please.
I saw the original one for who knows what reason.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Considered a classic, though. Considered a classic, but I agree.
But now, I mean, when you hold it next to the Nick Cage, of course it's a classic. Now it's art. It's raised to the level of art.
Right. Okay. Interesting. But by comparison, you're saying. Interesting.
Yes.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
The Nick Cage is so stupid that it certainly adds whole new textural layers to the first one.
Well, what's interesting is I remember the ads for this movie coming out, and this was late model Nick Cage. This is like the bloom is off the rose Nick Cage. And I remember not having any interest in seeing it and hearing nothing about it, I swear, until about 10 years later when it was all over the internet. Nicolas Cage memes left and right. This is like his reel of the wackiest Nicolas Cage moments. 9 out of 10 come from this movie.
Oh, yeah. I think he had some serious debts.
He did.
He may have been on cocaine because he is all over the place.
Yes. Well, what's interesting watching the movie, and I hadn't seen it for a couple of years, but the movie seems very...
And you own it.
And well, I just bought it. I bought it for this reason. It seems like a fairly standard kind of suspense kind of thriller kind of thing for about 3/4 of the movie. You'll know the stuff's going downhill, starting the scene where he's like locked in the underwater church.
Right.
When he climbs out of the underwater church, it's like the crazy Nick Cage is also unlocked. That's when it goes straight hog wild. Do you want to jump in with favorite scenes, or do you have any favorite scenes?
Oh my God. It is all so freaking ridiculous.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God. I mean, the fact, one, in this story, in the original one, it all takes place in the same country and you can cross borders or whatever. Here, he's a cop in California and he's gone to Washington.
Right. Puget Sound.
But there are no summer islands. It's all just dark all the time. So
that is true.
He keeps flashing this badge and kicking in doors and yelling at people.
Yep. Well, they say that at one point. Like Sister Beach literally goes like, "Oh, that's a California badge, and we're in Washington right now."
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, these aren't Trump's toadies being sent up to Portland. Come on. He is just a dinger-donger.
Yeah.
And later on, I read some interesting articles about 99% of the information, if you try to research, is about the original movie.
Yes.
Very few people want to even discuss this nonsense.
Yes. That except for me.
Except for you.
Yes, that is true.
You start off, I have to read my notes because I have to decipher my handwriting. So you start talking about your good stuff.
There was one, early in the movie, before the car accident and everything occurs, he's like in a diner looking for a self-help like audio book called like Everything's Okay.
Right.
Basically. So
that's even before the accident.
Before the accident.
He's not okay.
He's not okay. So basically what we later are supposed to believe, I think, is that when Willow jilted him, however 10 years earlier, he's still struggling with that 10 years later, is what I'm guessing. But that's neither here nor there. What's hilarious is later in the movie, he's now on Summer's Isle, right? He's got a room in the local inn. And somebody goes in, rifles through his stuff, and takes nothing but the audio tape of Everything's Okay.
Because everything's not okay.
They don't take his gun. They don't take his EpiPen, because he's definitely allergic to bees, evidently. They don't take his phone. They don't take anything else except for the audiobook truck stop self-help guide, essentially.
Oh, my God.
Why? What was that the secret? If he has that self-help book, we'll never be able to, cause our plan to its fruition.
What we really needed was more Raising Arizona Nick Cage and less Face Off Nick Cage.
Oh, Lord. Sweet Jesus.
So I have, Dad, at the beginning of the movie, he
Go for
pulls this family, this woman and her child over in a station wagon.
Yes.
Because the girl is pitching her doll out
on the highway.
Like she's 2 years old.
Right.
So he pulls them over thinking he's doing this good thing, hands it to the little snotty girl, and then she immediately just pitches it right back out into the street.
Yeah.
Like she's 2. And then a
The
truck
bad
hits them
seed.
and catch on fire. And I said, well, that in my mind, I'm like, well, that's what happens to snotty little girls.
You rooted for that scene. You're like, good work. Get him.
And then the hook at the end is they are on Summer Island at the end.
They are. They're on Summer Isle at the end, and the female police officer who was talking to him is also on Summer Isle.
So
they're all in on it.
Does this not seem overly complicated when apparently all he needed was the letter from the girl?
Well, okay. This is what's interesting.
I mean, let's stage this car accident with explosions, fire, quick escapes. Does that
right.
seem
They never
like
find
much?
the bodies. That's
never
why
find
it's
the bodies.
Yes.
But he's
so there's all sorts of stuff going on. Yes. Correct.
Witchcraft?
Well, yes, perhaps. Because he keeps remembering him trying to smash his way into the car, the burning car, to rescue them. And you see him still in the car, turning back and looking at him. So how was that?
But then other times he looks back and they're not there at all.
Right. Because everything's not okay, is the moral.
The moral of the story
I don't know.
Everything's not gonna be all right. No.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Okay.
And then on the ferry, he's hallucinating and he sees a girl who looks just like them. And that's Veruca.
Is he hallucinating? It was Veruca Salt. Is he hallucinating, or is that another Summer Isle person deliberately kind of messing with his mind, essentially? Not to mention, as he's on the crazy the boat to get to Puget Sound or whatever, he's splashing Aqua Velva on. It's like, hey, he's getting ready to meet what's her name. It's like, you could put the aftershave on at home.
Well, you got to layer
on the ferry,
it. For goodness sake. It's like the Ralph Lauren Polo or Drakkar Noir back in the day. You gotta start with a naked body, then you gotta put it on again with your shirt. Then if you wear a sweater, put another coat of that on your jacket, roll it in your hair.
It's just good hygiene.
It should be like a punch in the face when you get within 5 feet.
That's exactly right.
I can still smell Ralph. If I'm in a room, I went to a concert, and from across the crowded room, pre-corona, I could smell that someone in this crowd was wearing polo. I was trying to sniff it out. I'm like, is that a thing?
It's a thing. That's how we do it. Okay, we have to talk about basically what's happening is his fiance ditched him 10 years ago, and now she's reappeared saying, help, my child's missing. So it's tugging on the heartstrings, right?
He doesn't
but this is all part.
Child.
He doesn't know it's his child until later. But evidently, and there's actually a deleted scene for this, they, on this island, send their women out into the world, kind of like Midsummer, in a sense, and then they get involved with some dude.
It's flirty fishing,
get pregnant.
Like we discussed in Midsummer.
It's flirty fishing. Get pregnant and then jilt them, go back to the island, wait 10 years, and tell them this story. And evidently they target police officers because the police officers will feel like, hey, I've got a background in investigative
or
abilities. And I'm protective. And because you jilted me, I've got this unfinished business. So they come to the island thinking that, oh my God, my child I didn't even know I had is going to be sacrificed or has already been sacrificed. When the twist rolls around, no, 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 you're the sacrifice.
And once again,
Bum,
like
bum,
in
bum.
Midsummer, why don't they just give him a knot in the head and put him in a box until it's time to sacrifice?
I guess it's all about the ritual. Right? It's like you can't just go out and kidnap somebody on the mainland. You have to do they have to come of their own free will.
But
they have to do all this stuff.
Coming of their own free will, because they tried to say that like he rescued the little girl from the pyre and he ran off, and the little girl led him right back to the crowd.
Right.
So is that really him returning in his own accord?
Look, I'm not a member of the cult. I'm not sure what the story is. This is very fascinating.
Now, wouldn't you, if you were going to get sacrificed and it was like a pagan group, wouldn't you be up there throwing curses at them like, I curse you to 20 generations. Nothing will grow on this island. Your children will have gills.
You throw the evil eye.
Me.
Give them the Mallorca. Just to let them know as you go out in flames.
Exactly.
Who knows?
I'd be like, whoop, whoop. I'd be throwing fingers. I'd be spitting curses.
Throwing fingers.
My poo like a monkey. Oh, no. I would be
That's
like,
good advice.
I'm salting the earth. Yeah. I'm setting the corona on top of the plague, on top of the hantavirus, and a touch of Ebola. How's that for a cocktail?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. In the original Wicker Man, when they capture Sergeant Howie and put him in the Wicker Man,
Sergeant Howie,
his last name was Howie for some reason. He starts doing the Lord's Prayer because in that movie it was like very important that he was kind of this puritanical religious person, a virgin who was very disturbed by like Britt Eklund dancing around naked. Their issue, right? The rituals or whatever.
Right.
So there was like this paganism versus Christianity kind of push or pull going on there. There's no such thing with that in this one. Oh God, I have got to talk about how at one point Nicolas Cage is investigating, right? He goes into a classroom and he walks in on the lesson. And the girls are talking about, the teacher's like leading them in a lesson about the maypole, and what does the maypole represent? And these girls chant, phallic symbol, right? When he walks in, Nicolas Cage is like, whoa, school sure has changed since I was a child. What's going on here?
I think he was married to the Presley girl at the time.
It was
channeling his inner Elvis.
It was hilarious. So there's that scene. And then later in the movie, he meets the school teacher again riding her bike, and he robs her at gunpoint for her bike. Get off the bike! Give me your bike right now! The last 15 minutes, he is literally kicking indoors,
screaming,
giving you
terrorizing
you have my
children.
permission to stay out of my way. Yeah, it's a total freak out. Why is it burned? Why is it burned? Is he holding the old? The other actors trying to act opposite him are like, I don't know whether to give my lines or laugh or run away screaming.
Just point and go, Jesus, how much are they paying you?
It's a sad situation. Let me tell you, to say the least. Any other scenes you want to talk about?
There's something about the royal jelly. They're feeding him royal jelly on his scones and muffins or something.
No, this was kind of a little foreshadowing. He's down there trying to have tea, and he notices there's like one of those plastic honey bears.
Right.
That's like basically empty. And he's like, why are you using this? I thought you guys made this stuff. And they go, oh, how about we just get you some sugar? We had a bad harvest last year.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some artificial sweetener.
Oh, yeah. They are not subtle with the bee references. If only they were at Love Boat level overplaying.
Oh,
their
absolutely.
Hand.
It was straight
Could you
Fantasy
mention
Island.
they're like a beehive one more time? Is it in every scene there's a bee freaking? I mean, it's worse than the Howling with the wolf, Wolfman chili or whatever. Everything had to be, we're a hive. I'm the queen bee. These men are drunk. Blah, 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 blah.
And that's the other thing. It's like the women are in control. There are men on the island, but they're like mute morons or something. I don't know what they don't speak, and they kind of slink around. He tries to talk to them, and they just kind of grunt at him.
There was like one with boils in bed. Is that the breeder?
I think he got stung. I think that's part of it. When he first gets on the island, he meets these old women, and then you see these like kind of dudes walking up carrying a bag that's kind of writhing around. That's like dripping. There's like drippings of kind of blood. And Nicolas Cage is like, what's that? What's in the bag? And the bag kind of jerks, and he gets scared, and he's like, well, whatever. I'm not even going to look. So we never find out what's in the bag.
I'm too much of a puss to even look after trying to assert all my authority.
Well, and they even say, take a look. And he won't.
No.
He's like, okay.
And that sums up his character right there. He's a coward.
It's a full-blown freak show. At the end, he punches Sister Beach, steals her costume, gets into a fight with Sister Rose. I can't remember. They're all named after flowers and plants, essentially.
Sister Rose. That's the teacher.
Sister. It wasn't Sister Rose. It was the other chick who worked at the bar.
Oh,
kicks her against the wall. Lily Sobieski kicks her. She smashed. It was like literally like he's getting into full-blown fights. Punches Sister Beach right in the face. Knocks her out to steal her. What is happening? They couldn't make this movie today, for God's sakes.
Legally, they'd be allowed to just shoot him.
Right. It is. He stows
a
away.
Maniac.
Yes. He's running wild with a gun. He's not supposed to be there in the first place. It's a private island.
He has no authority. He's literally kicking in every door, screaming and yelling like a maniac. Even if somebody knew something, they'd be afraid to tell him.
Absolutely. I was laughing as a teacher because, again, he walks into that room to investigate where little Rowan is. Have you seen the girl? Here's her picture. No, she's never been in our class.
You can never get a bunch of kids to lie that well all together.
Well, and he goes up and like erases the lesson from the board.
Oh, yeah, I would have been so
I was
pissed.
like, what are you doing?
And just to write the kid's name. Actually, Sister Rose didn't look too happy.
She was not happy. Sister Rose had like a bizarre twin that there was no reference to. She was like out there with the drones.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on?
Makes no damn sense. I will tell you when you're done with favorite scenes. I read this interesting article on the Sci-Fi Network about this, a theory around it. It all goes back to feminism, you know. Somehow all these movies go back to feminism.
Yeah. Well, okay, in the final scenes, right? He's wearing a bear costume in disguise, and he sees little Rowan up in front of everybody, and he literally just breaks rank from the parade and runs up in front of everybody and just takes her by the hand and walks off with her.
No, he's not sly at all.
You can't. I mean, if you're trying to get away, again, where are you running to? Are you going to swim? You're on an island. You know, they already murdered the pilot and destroyed the plane. So it's like, what is your plan now, pal? So, good times.
But did you notice? So they used the bear, but in the movie Midsummer, we see the bear again.
And the victim winds up inside the bear.
Mm-hmm. Once
Coincidence?
Again.
Maybe it is.
I think that's a nod to our Wicker Man. And for those listening, we just reviewed Midsummer, so we decided we needed to do Wicker Man, since Midsummer is a direct Wicker Man ripoff or retelling, as we
an homage.
Suspiria.
That's exactly right. There's a scene. So he walks into the bar earlier in the movie, and it's all just women. He goes, "Hey, must be ladies' night."
Oh my God.
He says, he goes up to Sister Beach, who's like the bartender and I guess the proprietor, and says, "Hey, do you think you can swing a room for me?" And she's like, "Swing? What does that mean? Is that city talk or something?" Sweet Jesus.
They're all dressed like Tyrolean maids or something.
Yeah, they only drink mead. Everything's got to be bee related, evidently.
Yeah, that's because they couldn't add one more bee thing. Plus, meat's going to give you a hell of a headache with all that sugar.
Here's my advice. If you have not seen this movie, or even if you have seen this movie, go to YouTube now and type in Wicker Man, Nick Cage, best scenes. And that's all you need. That is all you need. The bees! No, they're getting in my eyes. Again, they beat you over the head with the fact that he is deathly allergic to bee stings. And yet, there's many times...
Which is nowhere in the original, by the by.
No. Cool, there are no bees in the original. The original had nothing to do with honey or bees. It was just kind of generic The Harvest.
Right.
Where this one is very bee-focused, as you might imagine.
People like bees. Let's make it all about bees.
All about bees. Do you want to go behind the scenes?
No, I'm going to tell you I read this article on Sci-Fi Network.
Lay it on me.
And it was the feminist perspective of the Wicker Man Nick Cage version.
Yes.
And it broke it down with pictures for each scene. So basically, I will summarize it, but it's quite an amusing little article. Too bad I didn't remember the name of the person who wrote it. But they're talking about Nick Cage arrives on this feminist utopia.
Yep.
Where they're neo-pagans, so it's all female, so they're learning this thing, and here comes this guy who basically is the whole reason why there are no men on this island.
Right.
He's rude, he's violent, he's disrespectful, he's kicking in doors. He's basically the reason why these people are hiding out there. So in the end, they theorize Nick Cage, villain or victim?
Well, he is murdered for seemingly not much of a reason.
I don't know. He seems quite violent.
He does start punching people at the end and waving his gun around.
He seems
by
unstable.
That is true.
Violent.
Everything's not okay.
What the hell's going on?
And I have to tell you, that's an interesting point. Another thing I was going to say is that Willow, his ex-fiancée who invited him to the island for help, seems the exact opposite of helpful. Half the time she's like giving him like things that are obviously lies. Like, I don't know why they're doing that. That is, it's like, really? You've lived here your entire life and you don't know X, Y, and Z? You don't know what the parade is, what tomorrow is?
She seems terrified and insane, moment by moment.
Right. Well, even at the end, where it's clear that she sold out Nicolas Cage, she looks peculiar. Like, I guess she's conflicted. She feels bad about it, but not enough to help him. Or she does everything she's supposed to, right?
Right.
I don't know. It's all very strange.
All right, on the article, not guilty. The Nicolas Cage version of the Wicker Man.
Not guilty. Oh, so it's saying like he should have been killed. Kill him is what you're saying is the thesis of this article. If you meet someone like Nicolas Cage or even Nicolas Cage, kill him.
Pretty much so. That is pretty much what the hell they're talking about.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
I like how it starts off. I feel the urgent need to preface this piece. This is not a good movie. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But they are
I think it's hilarious.
To Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I find it, okay, again, I go to the mat for this. I find it pretty standard fare for 3/4 of the movie. I didn't think it was bad, 3/4 of the movie. But it attains an entire new level of weirdness about 3/4 of the way through. And that's what saves the day. So, in my opinion. So there you go.
All right, I'm reading this to you. It says, it's like a private school run by Ellen Burstyn, who 10 out of 10 wouldn't worship, who wouldn't send their kids to a great school like this. Nick Cage character is proving to these children that men are terrifying. They steal your cool mask while you're playing. They're kicked down your doors.
That's true.
They punch the local tavern manager.
Yep.
So they're fully in their rights to not only carry out this deeply elaborate troll job, but a myriad of sub-trolls within the big troll from minor but creepy pranks. And then they list all these things as merely pranks.
Well, okay, if somebody breaks into your house, are you allowed to commit ritual homicide upon them? Can you chain them up into a giant wicker man and light them on fire? I'm a little sketchy on the law on that one. You have the right to defend your property, but at some point, it's like you've already broken his legs and you poured bees on him. I'm not sure if you're now allowed to light him on fire.
Well, but my thing is, I'm assuming he's already dead when the fire starts. If he's so allergic to bees, and now I've poured, I figured the anaphylaxis would have suffocated you before the flames licked your heels.
Well, that's the thing. So they poured the bees in this little, like, oh God.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing the picture right now. I'm gonna send you this link.
And the thing, but the Dr. Moss, sticks him with the EpiPen so that he doesn't die after that. And then they light him on fire. Yeah. Yeah. So it's good times.
I don't know if that one shot of the EpiPen with 700 bee stings. I'm not sure if that's enough.
Well, and I have to say, in 4K, the bees look ridiculously fake. So it's the curse of 4K, for God's sakes.
All right, I'm ready for you to go behind the scenes. Oh, and one more thing.
Go for it.
At one point, he goes to dig up the grave that is supposedly his child, but he chooses to do it in the middle of the night.
Yes.
Interesting.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Everybody already knows what you're up to.
Yes. Everybody's against you. Robin Hardy, the writer and director of the original film, and Christopher Lee, who played Summer Isle in the original film, were both critical of the remake. Yeah. And Hardy had his name removed from the film's credits, like based on the movie by Robin Hardy kind of thing. He's like, I don't want to be associated with this piece of crapola.
I can see that.
This movie not screened by the critics.
Oh,
they just kind of they bypassed the
and they don't
that's
let the
always
critics view it.
That is correct. Nicolas Cage objected to the criticism. He felt that it was obviously an absurdist black comedy, not a straight thriller.
I don't believe he said that in the first weeks of the release. That is 20 years later, Nick Cage.
Yeah. Oh, no question.
He feels it's one of his overlooked masterpieces.
Well, it's like that movie, The Room, where it's like when it was made, it was clearly meant to be like this romantic drama. But when everyone saw it and thought it was so ridiculous, like, oh no, it was a comedy the whole time. Clearly it was a comedy. Yeah, guess again.
Wrong. And I will tell you, The Room, much funnier than this.
This at least has a plot, though. I'll tell you that. Did you notice that the movie was dedicated to Johnny Ramone?
It is in my notes. What's that about?
Nick Cage, big fan.
Oh, Jesus.
That's all it is. What else do you need to know, for goodness sake? Much of the dialogue, perhaps over 80%, is word for word the same as in the original Wicker Man, although sometimes in a different context.
It literally has that beautiful made-for-TV quality. Like it was meant to be on 8 o'clock on a Thursday, maybe CBS. It's not good enough for NBC, but maybe CBS, maybe ABC.
USA Up All Night?
No, it's not. It doesn't have USA money.
It doesn't have USA money.
It's definitely not HBO. If anything, it would be an Epix.
It's not HBO. It's regular ass TV.
It's regular ass TV.
Edward Woodward, I was right, who played Sergeant Howie in the original movie, was offered a part in the movie.
And he said, heck no.
He said, hell to the no. But what they did do is they changed the last name of Willow and Rowan to Woodward as kind of a little nod.
Homage.
A little homage. We said that all of the women that he meets on the island are named after plants or nature. Willow, beech, honey, rose, thorn, moss. And Nicolas Cage's character is Malus. His last name is Malus, which is the genus name for the apple. So there you go.
So my question is, after a while, do you just keep using the same name over again, or eventually do you have kids named like Carrot?
Yes,
Root.
that's correct. Yeah, you have Carrot and Root. That'll be in the sequel. One of two films in 2006 that received an F cinema score from audiences on their release. So, very sad.
It is right up there with. Did you see the movie? And I can't remember the chick who's in it, about that suicide forest in Japan.
No.
I saw it like opening weekend, and literally I was with. It was clearly a bunch of teenagers, and after a while, people just started shouting. It was like turned into Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh no!
It was fantastic.
Winona Ryder turned down the role of Willow, as she thought the script sucked. So that's important to know.
Hey, 2016. When did this movie come out?
2006.
Oh. So the movie is called, that I was referencing, is called The Forest.
Oh.
You never saw that?
No. Never even heard of it.
It has somebody in it. I think it has, is it Marjorie Tyrell? I have to look. Keep on with your
Marjorie.
Marjorie
Tyrell.
Natalie Dormer.
Oh, yes. She was, Marjorie Tyrell. You're absolutely right.
And Taylor Kinney, it's a bunch of people, who the hell knows?
Liam
Neeson. She goes
Neeson.
to find her suicidal sister who's off in the suicide forest in Japan.
Interesting.
I'll put it on the list. Yeah, after a while, people were just shouting shit out. It was fantastic. Continue.
In the original British version, the island was called Summer Isle with Lord Summer Isle. In the American version, it's called Summers Isle, and it's Lady Summers Isle. I guess they felt Americans have difficulty pronouncing Summer Isle. I don't know.
Well, there's a Summer Isle in Game of Thrones also. Back to Game of Thrones.
James Franco has a cameo in a deleted scene. Actually, it's not deleted for that version, where they kind of establish now they've sent Willow and Lily Sobieski out there to snare a couple more police officers. That's kind of like the cycle continues. So
it's true. And they were all dressed hot to trot, ready to make some more babies.
Should we talk about the cast?
I thought we just did.
Vaguely. Nicolas Cage is Edward Malis.
About the cast of The Forest.
Ellen Burstyn is Sister Summer Isle. Lily Sobieski is Sister Honey. She was in Never Been Kissed and Joyride and blah, blah, blah. Sister Willow, she was in... Her name's Kate Behan. I don't think I've ever seen her before. She was the one actress I'd really never seen before.
No.
Frances,
who was the bartender lady?
Her name's Diane Delano, and she was in The Lady Killers, Jeepers Creepers 2. I think she was in LA Law 100 years ago.
Oh yeah, she's been in some stuff.
Dr. Moss is Frances Conroy. You remember her from 6 Feet Under, most famously.
Yes.
And American Horror Story, season 1.
There you go.
Molly Parker played Sister Rose. Most famously, she's from Deadwood.
Oh yeah. It was good.
A few other things. I think that's about it. Anybody else you want me to talk about?
No.
I think that gets the job done.
I say so.
Ratings. This movie has a 15% rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. That is ridiculous. Ridiculous, I say. What do you give it?
I am going to give it, I'm going to say, how about this? If you are 13 years old, I am going to give it 3 out of 5 Beavis and Buttheads. If you're an adult like me, you're going to give it 2 out of 5 glasses of old stinky mead.
No, I think it's hilarious. It gets 5 out of 7 phallic symbols, in my opinion. It's a classic. You got to check. If only for amusement, invite the neighbors, invite the local priest or the honey person that lives nearby. Have them sit down, watch The Wicker Man. That's my opinion.
I want to rate all the Wicker Man and Wicker Man related movies. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
1973 Wicker Man. 2019 Midsummer. Somewhere far, far below will be Nick Cage. A documentary of Burning Man will slide in above that. I don't know what the documentary is or if it even exists, but I'm going to put that in as a placeholder because it's still got to be better than Nick Cage.
This is what I will say about all this good stuff. I found the original Wicker Man boring. I found it boring. Call me what you want. I found it boring. I think Midsummer is obviously a much better made film, but it's hard to rank these because it's clearly like an homage to that original Wicker Man. Yeah. So what do? I'm partial to the Nick Cage. I wouldn't say it's a better film by any stretch of the imagination.
Quit pussyfooting around and rank them.
If I'm sitting down to watch a movie, the first one I'm putting up is Nicolas Cage. Boom! Goes the dynamite.
You are the 13-year-old boy it was made for.
I am. I would take Midsummer second, and I would take the original Wicker Man. As much as I love Christopher Lee, I would take that third. That's my opinion. So there you go.
Amusing fact, in the original Midsummer, they thanked the townspeople and Lord Summerisle.
Did they really?
Movie, and that's all fictional because none of that exists.
That's hilarious. I love that.
After this, in different parts of the UK, they started having Wicker Man festivals, but apparently somebody died, so they stopped doing that.
What, they were lighting people on fire in the Wicker Man?
I think it was probably some kind of a Burning Man situation where everybody's on heroin and some kind of psilocybin and dancing around naked and having a bonfire.
For people who have no idea what we're talking about, in the end of the movie, in all the movies, basically, the grand reveal is that the missing girl was never really missing. That this was all a trap to get Nicolas Cage and Edward Woodward in the original movie, to get them to come to the festival, and then they lock him in a giant 30-foot like statue kind of thing made out of wicker. They put him inside that. It's hollow, and it's got like goats and chickens and things in there, other sacrifices. And they light the thing on fire while dancing around and chanting. And they burn the guy alive, and he's the sacrifice. That's what the Wicker Man is. You don't see the Wicker Man until the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Right. Which is the tallest thing on the island, so it's kind of interesting that nobody notices it.
Right.
And in Midsummer, they are anguished when people were dying versus Nick Cage. They were dancing around happy as clams.
When they were breaking his legs, they were cheering and howling and having a grand old time.
You son of a...
No social distancing whatsoever.
No mask.
Let me see that.
Oh, no, there was plenty of masks. What am I saying?
There were, unless Nicolas Cage runs up and tears your mask off, little kids playing, very upsetting. The problem is all the kids were little blonde girls, just like the daughter he didn't even know he had. So it's all very confusing.
Yes, no explanation about where the boys go. Or do they just become drones, or they just don't have boys? Or is it going to be like Game of Thrones and they leave it out in the forest as a sacrifice?
They don't really explain. Sister Summerisle says, "Oh, we love our men." Kind of throws out that comment.
We love them to death.
To death. Well, but they're clearly the drones of society, to keep the bee analogy going. Like they go and carry things and work in the fields and are incapable of speaking, evidently. So,
and they're not
using
them for sex because they're bringing people from the outside.
They bring people in from the outside. Like that's the only, but they don't bring them in for that reason. They only bring them in for sacrifice. They go out for the booty.
Right.
Okay. Good times. So thank you very much. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Email us at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die at Gmail. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Like, share, rate, and subscribe. And Aaron, you're on Twitter.
I am, in fact, on Twitter. The Cult of Aaron. Join the cult.
So cult it up. So thank you very much and be well.
Later, skaters. Wear your mask.